Every 40 seconds, we'll lose a person to suicide. Within mental health, there are two groups of professionals: those who have had a suicide and those who are going to have one. It is the sad but sobering truth of our profession, almost an occupational hazard. Hello, I'm Manan, a consultant psychiatrist, but here today as your online coach, tutor, or trainer. I've been in leadership, director positions for over a dozen years, and within that time, I have supported hundreds, and I do mean hundreds, of professionals who have been affected by suicide. Needless to say that the loss of life is devastating for the loved ones, but it also leaves an indelible mark on the practice of the professional. Kind, compassionate individuals who are supporting people in mental health, and it leaves them questioning about what they do, how they do it, whether they do it right. Unfortunately, all of this is with the benefit of hindsight. They don't have a crystal ball. Whenever I have encountered these situations, I am reminded of a lighthouse, an old lighthouse which has a tiny beacon inside, and it's surrounded by mirrors. What these mirrors do is that they amplify the light, and the light can be seen for miles. When we encounter people in suicidal crisis, it is a very similar situation. The light within them, the light of hope, has begun to dwindle. And we, working in mental health, attempt to be those mirrors, the mirrors that would hold the light, reflect the light back to the person, and amplify the light so that they can begin their journey of recovery and resilience. This practice is not easy because it's a tightrope walk between risk on one hand and recovery on the other. Most professionals working in mental health know that without risk, there is no recovery. But when someone is in suicidal distress, this can be challenging. Within this course, we have pulled together concepts that we have been building for over a decade. 127 is a safety conversation that is very different to other risk assessment training that you have had. We have coalesced all these concepts in one single phrase called relational safety. Safety created by the genuine curiosity and compassion of a fellow human being. This is far greater than any risk assessment tool that you can do on a person who is currently in suicidal distress. Suicide prevention training tends to focus on the behavior. This is what we see and attempt to address. But most training courses largely neglect this 7/10, which is below the surface of the water. This is what we don't get to see and actually often don't know how to address. We call this a mindset. This is what drives the behavior. We do want people who are supporting others in suicidal distress to work in a recovery-oriented fashion. However, if the mindset is that of risk aversion, then our practice will be quite restrictive. Without shifting the mindset, we cannot really genuinely get to the behavior. There's nothing wrong with doing risk assessment training or conventional risk management training, but it doesn't really give enough emphasis on what drives that behavior and changing that mindset. So what we have done from all the work over the last 10 years is to identify a key mindset shift that is fundamental to changing the way in which we interact with people who are in suicidal distress. So we conceptualize suicide as the intense desire to escape the entrapment of life, because life equates to overwhelming pain and dying is better than carrying on. So this person in suicidal distress sees suicide as a solution. However, we in mental health supporting these people see suicide as a problem. It's a solution that ends all solutions. And when we approach the suicidal person, we're really trying to establish What's the matter with them? This is, in a way, kind of conventional medicine, conventional practice, where we are trying to diagnose the problem and fix the problem. And we believe herein is the need for a mindset shift. And the mindset needs to shift from what's the matter with you to what matters to you. It might seem small, but if you really grapple with this and grasp this, it will change your practice. Now think about it. A person does not get into suicidal distress over things that don't matter to them. If we could identify what mattered to them, what was meaningful to them, what's the matter with them would drop out of it automatically. So this is the key mindset shift. It involves a change in our practice, a change in our practice from kind of a deficits-based approach to one that's assets-based, that is recovery-oriented. However, I'm not saying that it's easy. Working with people in suicidal distress can be quite challenging, and there is an inherent tendency for a practice to become restrictive. Does anyone know who is the athlete who is leading the pack? If you've got the mind Roger Bannister in your head, that's the correct answer. What's so special about Roger Bannister? Roger Bannister broke through the 4-minute mile. Prior to him, it was considered scientifically impossible for human beings to run a mile below 4 minutes. And Roger Bannister, on a wet, windy day in Oxford, goes through that 4-minute barrier. Now, you might say that's impressive. However, what is more remarkable is that over the next kind of 2 months, I think, John Lundy from Australia runs it, and in the next 2 years, there were 16 other athletes who go through the 4-minute mile. So you have to stop and ask, what happened there? Did we suddenly have a genetic spurt, mutations causing X-Men or something like that? No. Roger Bannister showed people that it can be done. He created a new mindset, a new frame of reference. And that is what we are attempting to do in this 1-7 training within the Protect frameworks, that it can be done. So there are 10 questions, but there's a lot more that goes below the 10 questions. The 10 questions is what do you get to see? But then there's a whole lot more that you're listening for, and there's a whole lot more in terms of mindset that we are trying to shift as you come up with a safety plan that is solutions focused, recovery oriented, assets based. We have this concept of relational safety, this deeply therapeutic alliance, this bond between the person supporting and the person receiving the support, and the natural circle of support. And within this relational safety, we create those first steps in the person's recovery journey, a recovery journey that will take them towards resilience. I am passionate about supporting your learning journey. I'm passionate about supporting those who are supporting others in suicidal distress. I'm confident that once you immerse yourself in the Protect training frameworks and complete the 1-7 safety conversation training, you will find yourself much better placed in finding the right balance between risk and recovery. It's not easy, but it can be done. I'm really hopeful that this course will enthuse you and re-energize you in supporting people in suicidal distress. Yes, it is very challenging, but actually, supporting people in suicidal distress is one of the most rewarding things that we have in the practice of mental health. So once again, welcome to the course. Let's begin upwards and onwards.